is Adam Guyman, and I am from Salt Lake City, Utah. I am making this video because I am wanting to let people know about how and the struggles of what it's like to go through to get a diagnosis, what it's like to actually have a undiagnosed disability. Now, I have some disabilities that I've been able to be diagnosed with, but then I have other basically undiagnosed disabilities where they know kind of what it is, but yet they don't have a specific either name, because the symptoms and the medical problems that I have and have had in the past and still have on an ongoing basis, those things are actually things that I've actually had to deal with. And so basically, when you have an undiagnosed disability or undiagnosed disabilities, it's really hard when you do need something, but yet because it's not in the doctor's textbook, it's very difficult for a person to get the diagnosis and the right diagnosis codes. What most people don't know is that a disability or a diagnosis is given to a person by certain codes that are in medical textbooks and coding systems. One of those codes is an ICD-10 code. These codes basically tell a doctor and they tell the insurance company, they tell, for example, a wheelchair shop, or what types of medications should be given to someone. Now, I'm not a medical professional, but I've dealt with enough stuff on my own, and as I've learned on my own, there are different types of codes. One of those is a code 99, which means lifetime. I don't know specifically what other codes there are for like part-time or temporary, but that's what I was taught or told by a doctor a long time ago. Now, when I was born legally blind. Now, because that's hereditary, that actually is something that I will get to in a minute. But what I'm actually getting into on this video is the fact that I was taught a long time ago that the easiest way to explain what was explained to me about how a person is diagnosed is, and how people can be misdiagnosed, or how someone may actually have something, but yet because they are just 1 or 2 inches away from that, because they don't fit those very specific requirements or criterias, they're not able to actually get the diagnosis that they do need or they may have. Now, basically, how I was explained is you take a muffin tin, and I've actually taken a muffin tin, and because of me using my phone, I can't get like a direct picture or view down here, so I'm gonna be improvising a little bit, and I have some empty clear cups that are going to be in this muffin tin. Basically, let's say someone has EDS, and let's say the requirement for this example is 5 pink, we'll just say beads gumballs, and 2 white gumballs. Okay, so now we're gonna pour those into there. Okay, So those are in the first slot. The next one is scleroderma. 4 red beads and 3 blue beads or gumdrops, which there are 3 of the blue and 4 of the red in here. Okay. Now we're going to go with another one. Gastroparesis. Now, for this example, okay, for gastroparesis, it is 3 green and 2 yellow. Okay, and I'm going down the list here. Now, I put legally blindness because that's one of the disabilities I had at birth. That's hereditary. 3 white beads or gumdrops and 4 purple. So it's probably going to be hard to see the purple against my shirt. So that goes in here. And we have the last one, which later on in life I was diagnosed with this, but this is not in the medical textbooks. This is actually one that I've had a hard time with. Every time I go to see a doctor, especially an ER doctor, a new doctor, and I know I've mentioned this in a few other videos, but this is the spatial diffuse global weakness. And there's quite a few now. There's 2 white beads in here. It's probably hard to see. 3 pink beads, 2 red beads, 1 green bead, 2 yellow beads, and 3 purple beads. Okay, so this is gonna go in here. Okay, now that I have these, let's get these out of the way. For example, I don't have the 2 for EDS. If I don't have this exact combination, but I have, let's say I have a white bead and, let's see, so we're going to go with 2 pink beads and 1 white bead, okay? Now, EDS is, some of the criteria are that you have to have stretchy skin. Now, obviously, I don't think I have that stretchy of skin. But some of the symptoms that I have felt are some of the same symptoms that I have heard other people in their videos describe. The second one is scleroderma. I probably didn't get that completely correct on the pronunciation, but now that is 3 blue and 4 red. But let's say I have a blue, a red, and we'll just go with another blue. Okay? Now, I don't have, obviously, with both of these, I don't have all of the criteria for either EDS or scleroderma, because I pulled some of each of these and put them in here. But because of other things I have had problems with as well, so some of the symptoms, so I have some of the symptoms that other people have described out EDS. Now, this is just an example with the EDS and the scleroderma. A person could be misdiagnosed, because what happens if I have a couple of symptoms, even if they're minor symptoms of scleroderma? What would happen if I had both of those and they were both balanced just right? That a doctor could look at me and say, well, you don't look like you have EDS, you don't look like you have scleroderma, so I would not get a diagnosis of either one of those. Gastroparesis. Okay. Now, I might not have all of the symptoms of gastroparesis, but when I was born without a sphincter between my stomach and esophagus, which, as a baby, I had ended up with really bad acid reflux. I ended up with pneumonia as a baby, and because of that gave me my obstructive pulmonary lung disease, or what I've been told by some doctors is, some doctors will say it's asthma, some doctors will say that it's as COPD. I know some people with EDS have different types of breathing problems, and because of my stomach issues, I've actually had other medical problems because of that. There are times, as a matter of fact, a lot of people don't realize it, but as a kid I was actually treated like I was a picky eater, because obviously I couldn't help it. As a kid, there's a lot of foods that if I eat those foods, I will get sick to my stomach. And just a small amount of examples is, one, I can't eat, I can eat whipped cream as long as it's sweet, but if it was not sweet at all, depending on the texture of it, depending on the smell of it, I may not be able to eat it. I have had, like as a kid, I've never really been able to sit down and eat a garden salad. And now, if I'm looking at this, basically, I don't know whether some of those things that I've had have been part of what has happened to me before. But now, let's add some stuff so gastroparesis, I feel like I've had some of the symptoms. And at this moment, I can't really remember every symptom of it. But there are times where I feel full. There are times when I can't eat. Or there's times when I can eat a lot. And it's really frustrating. So the third one is gastroparesis. I'm just going to say that I've got a green one. So I just took a green one, and okay, so now I have a red, 2 pink, a white, 2 blue, and 1 green. Okay? Legally blindness. Obviously, that I have the whole thing of. But so that would be 3 white and 4 purple. So let's just dump. So we're dumping the legally blindness in there. Okay, so now we've got legally blindness. It's in this sixth one, because so from what I'm gathering, after that you get what I've already put together is a form of spatial diffuse global weakness. Now, what does that mean? Well, I don't know whether some of these are playing a fact. Now, some of the things I've had, other doctors overlooked because either I was not old enough for some things, so they would never test me for those things. And those are things that I really strongly am trying so hard to fight for, is that someone can have an undiagnosed disability that really can affect them every day. And it means people are denied insurance. It means that people are misdiagnosed. And for example, maybe a person might not have EDS, but technically some of the symptoms that are in part of the spatial diffuse global weakness are part of something else. So one of the things that I'm really stressing on is to let people know what things people or someone can have. One thing I want to mention is when I was born, and I don't know if they knew about it before or after I was born because I can't remember. And the thing is I recently, about probably a good, I think maybe a year ago, or at least 6 months to a year or so ago, I had a genetics testing. Now, I didn't get a full genetics testing. I only got a small panel just for like legally blindness, or for blindness through the eye center. And they said that one of the things is it's the PAX6 gene that is, from what I understand, there's a mutation to the PAX6 gene. And then later on, just probably about a month ago now, I had an MRI. I'm seeing a new neurologist, because the neurologist, I've had different ones that I've seen over the years, and I think notes have been passed around. They said one of the things on the test results, so for the frontal lobe, it's, okay, I'm going to spell this out because I don't think I can pronounce it correctly. ASYMMETRIC, and then another word, HYPERTROPHY of the right OCCIPITAL. So that is that right there is two things. And now I don't know, I've looked at this, and some of these I know and believe are different factors. Now, a list of diagnoses. 1, COPD. That's one that I was mentioning, and I need to try to do some videos on each of these in more detail. But 2, I'm going to spell this one, I can't pronounce it right off. NEURALGI. That's the second one. The third one is urinary incontinence. That one might be partly due to my spatial diffuse global weakness and other factors, and that's just something that's just part of my life, and that's something I have to live with every day. And then 4, GERD, or Gastro, GASTROPHAGEAL, and then reflux disease. With the GERD, back in 2003, I had a laparoscopic Nissen done, and the laparoscopic Nissen 5. And the thing is, some of these I didn't even, some of them I knew about, and I kind of know about them and understand them. I was looking at my medical chart, and usually you only have 15 minutes to talk to your doctor. Well, I somehow or another ended up not being able to talk to my doctor about everything all the time, and there's things that when I asked someone to read off the different diagnoses I had out of my medical record at the doctor's office, they read off a few things that I'm like, I didn't know I had this or that. And so some of them, one of these the diagnosis is muscle weakness, basically meaning, and what I think maybe they labeled it to give it a diagnosis is the spatial diffuse global weakness, or SDGW. And then 6, osteoarthritis of many joints. 7, this one, let's see, disorder of eye, nystagmus, and the other word is PSEUDOPHAKIA of both eyes. Number 8, they had it listed as legally blindness, glaucoma, secondary, unspecified, LATERALITY, indeterminate, stage, OSAS, obstructive. 10 is psoriasis. And basically, if we were to do some of these and change some of these cups, and we were to say a certain color or a certain number of beads was my psoriasis, and a certain amount was my obstructive pulmonary lung disease, and so on. If we did that, there's got to be certain criteria from each of these that actually represent what some of the other, EDS, scleroderma, and I use these two because they're obviously two, from what I understand, they're two opposite medical conditions. And as I have watched different YouTube videos, I have realized that with these YouTube videos that I've watched, here's the thing that I want people to understand. When I searched YouTube for spatial diffuse global weakness, because, I could tell people, yes, I have an obstructive pulmonary lung disease and I use some inhalers. Family and friends that doubted me because of me being able to not be able to walk, from that point, they believed that. But when I started having problems as of June of 2001, when I started having problems because of the UTA bus wreck that I was in, I had no idea why, but I started having problems being able to walk. And when I started, I had family, and I've had some friends that basically looked at me and said, well, you've never had a problem as a kid walking. But as a kid, I pretty much have had times when I ended up, when I try to run or do certain things that are really active, like even riding a bike. If I was on a nice level street, I was able to ride the bike. I even as a kid, I felt like I've had balance issues. Part of it might be related to my legally blindness, but yet at the same time, part of it could be something else that nobody else was willing to look for when I was a kid. That I actually realized is that actually has, you know, hindered me in quite a bit in some aspects, because I've had people deny to help me when I've needed help because someone thought, well, no, you've walked before, just get some exercise and walk. And they'd like to try to normalize it, and they're not willing to accept the fact that, and the fact that I can't, whether I can or can't walk. And a lot of people say, well, there's so many people with EDS that can walk. But yet, unfortunately, there's people who have EDS that cannot walk. I've actually had problems when I've actually, let's say someone like my, family or says, oh, why don't you just reach up and grab the little handle inside of the truck or car and just pull yourself over. Well, one of the symptoms of my spatial diffuse global weakness is I can let go of something real easily. I mean, right now I'm holding onto this cup. It could have water in it, or I could be holding onto a piece of paper. I could be having a conversation, and without any warning, I've dropped it. Now, obviously, I dropped this to show you, but I can let go of something. I could feel like I'm able to grab something and pull up on it to pull myself over, but without any warning, I could just let go. So that means that it's unsafe for me to do so. And so when I'm getting in and out of a vehicle, and it's not like it's a wheelchair accessible vehicle, I need to have someone that can safely lift me in and out of the front seat of that vehicle. And then obviously people have to lift my chair into the back of that vehicle, which does take quite a few people, unfortunately, to do. Basically, there's a lot that's involved with my spatial diffuse global weakness and the other medical conditions that I do have. I've even recently got new dentures on, not the bottoms, but the top dentures. That's because of part of it. I know part of it is my acid reflux. I've had infections that have caused my teeth to rot. And one of the things is, I've been told, from what I can remember, is someone who has EDS, that, some can have problems with their teeth. And I think, from what don't quote me, I might be wrong on this one, but I've heard that some people that have scleroderma have this as what, they can have problems with their teeth as well. So I had to have some of my wisdom teeth removed because they were crowding out my other teeth. And that was done a long time ago. Like I mentioned earlier, with things that I can eat, going along with gastroparesis, I can get sick to my stomach if, let's say, I ate salad dressing. For me, I cannot take a tomato right off the vine, cut it open, put a couple of little shakes of salt on it, and just start eating it. I'll get sick to my stomach. but I can actually eat ketchup. But I know ketchup is made out of tomatoes. But a raw tomato I can't eat, but I can eat ketchup. So some foods, depending on how it's made, I'm able to eat. And a lot of people don't understand that. Uh, Basically, I just want to bring awareness to people that just because someone does not have, a specific diagnosis like cerebral palsy or EDS or scleroderma or, whatever it might be, it's important that people who have either limbo type of diagnosis or diagnosis where someone's had to make a name up to just give you a name that you can give to a doctor, genetics test, not just something that gives me, one or two of, if it's just as limited as, you know, for legally blindness, for whatever it might be. If you just get a small, you'll only just get, a few things. For example, like when they did the genetics test for my legally blindness, they were able to pull up things that would fit having glaucoma, and what I read off as some of my diagnoses and disabilities. And the thing is those, you know, if I got a full, if I got something that had at least one or more of everything, that's including the clean. And what I learned later is that there's dirty DNA, and the thing is they thought that the dirty DNA wasn't worth anything, but from what I understand, it actually is worth something. And so I hope that this educates anyone. When I searched for it on YouTube, I couldn't find any videos that mentioned spatial diffuse global weakness. So, but as a matter of fact, when I did search YouTube, I found different videos that Chronically Jackie made. I saw those videos and I watched and watched and watched. And I'm sure grateful for those videos. Very grateful. And if you have an opportunity, watch her videos. So basically, I watched her videos. I've watched a good handful of a few different videos. There's a part of me that really keeps leaning towards, even if it's just a form of EDS, makes me kind of feel like that maybe some of my symptoms lead very close to something like EDS. But yet at the same time, it would be nice to be able to have a better diagnosis. So I am going to be going to the neurologist, and hopefully I'll have better answers. But I want to make sure that if someone doesn't have a diagnosis or they're struggling, it's really important that you try to stand up and tell the doctor, and hopefully people will realize that when just because you don't have exactly the exact ingredients that you're supposed to have one thing or another, it's important that you're able to actually get, the people. Hopefully people will start taking people more serious instead of saying that they're going to call the state on you, that they think you're just faking it, that these that affect people's lives every day. And I mean, just something like this, can affect a person's life. Before, when I was able to walk and I didn't have any problem, well, per se, that people could see. No, they didn't know how I felt, because I was always taught just to normalize it and try to, you have a skinned knee or a skinned elbow, just rub it off and it's fine. Just just rub it off, and move your hand, and you'll be fine. But that's not always the case. And so, I hope this helps anyone who is looking to try to find some answers, or just even some understanding. Hopefully this helps, and I hope that any other videos that I make will hopefully bring a better light to what it's like through the eyes of a person with disabilities. Because people just think that we're looking for convenience, and we're looking for accessibility. And so I believe that it's important we stand up for what we do believe, and it's important that others take the time to understand really what it's like. So I hope this helps, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day or a night. Right now it's nighttime in Salt Lake, but God bless, and I'll see you on another video. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment.